Hello, everyone. It's Charlene Lee, and today I'm going to be talking about AI. Of course, it's a topic of the moment, but I want to share some of the data from U.S. consumers that my firm PA Consulting has been collecting. And this is a survey done in early March. We're excited to share some of the things that we're seeing, and you may be feeling some of these things too as well. So we'll go through and talk about how consumers. I just realized my mic is over there. We'll talk today about how consumers are feeling about AI, their excitement, their concerns, and then also how organizations should be thinking about taking some actions today to address some of these concerns that people have. So, to start out today, I would love for you to share what are you most excited about this new phase of AI, and in particular, generative AI? And also, what are you really concerned about? What are the things that come up for you when you're starting to do some of these things? So, like, wow, that's pretty powerful. There are some significant implications. So, love to hear some of those things and then see how it's reflected in some of the consumer data we have. And then next week, we'll do a really fun dive into what I think are some of the futures that could evolve, some future scenarios, some possibilities of what the good and bad things that could happen and how they could all come together. But this week, we're going to look at some data. And so let's dive right into it. And if you'd like to see where the research is, you can go to this site. I just put a URL, a shortener in it, a bit.ly, so that you can see it. It's a little bit easier to read. So let's go and take a look at some of the research. So let me just get into this a little bit better. Wrong slide. Here we go. This is the first one we want to show. All right, let me make this a little bit bigger. There we go. So the things that we're seeing is that generative AI in particular has been really popular. And we always know that technology has a lot of pros and cons. Pros is that we see a lot of more interactions with each other, connections. It can be a source of joy in many cases, increased productivity, but it also comes with some disadvantages, privacy, disinformation, even mental health issues. And AI is about the same. What you're seeing from this data is that the emotions vary widely. We're seeing some people being very interested in it, of course, 85% saying they're very interested in it. 82%, also just very high, are very apprehensive about it. 73% are excited. This is again of US consumers. 65% are confused. And I love the last bar, 38% are actually angry about it. Now, we don't have insight into why they're feeling angry. That's for more future research. But I think a lot of it has to do, again, with some of the lack of control, the fact that it's taking away jobs, and we'll get into that in more detail. So one of the things that's interesting about all of this is that a lot of it comes from that one part about 65% saying they're confused. And the thing that we're realizing is that when it comes to AI, people really don't know what's going on with it. They think they know what it is, but they're not quite sure. And the reality is, it's already in our lives, and people don't even recognize it. So one of the interesting things, I'll throw up some data here again, is that it's not showing up very well, unfortunately. But my slides did not come up well. But what the first line here, 52% of people correctly identified that tools like online assistants like Siri and Alexa are using AI. 48% recognize that it's facial recognition. 47% realize that programs like ChatGPT are using AI, which is interesting because if there's anything associated with AI, it should be things like ChatGPT. And yet 47% don't realize there's AI underneath it. And 36% say discovery or for you pages. Now, the three that did show up at the bottom here are the most interesting things because these are tools that we use every day. Things like recommendations for what to buy when you're shopping online, your music playlist, the shows that you see on places like Netflix or Apple TV. Those all use AI, and yet less than a third of US consumers could identify that those tools definitely use AI. And we just assume that AI is this big, new, nebulous thing when it's actually been used now for a decade or more in the tools that we use every day. So I think this is a big problem in that we're not quite sure as consumers really what is being used. What is AI? When is it being used? And the big scary AI that's coming for us that we don't understand, we don't trust, but we use AI every single day. And one of the things here is that we don't necessarily understand how all of this is being used. We don't understand um, how what it is, and we're seeing that in the data too as well. So again, just a bit more data here. 3 and 4, 72% agree that people don't know enough about AI to trust it. 49%. This is interesting. 1 in 2 people say that the technology industry purposefully, intentionally makes it difficult to know what artificial intelligence actually means. And then 9 in 10, 85% actually believe that companies care more about protecting their AI tools than being transparent with consumers like themselves. So there's a lot of distrust about what's really going on here. We see, though, that when AI is being used in everyday tools where the value and the benefits are really clear, then people do trust it. They have experience with it, they understand what's going on, they see the value exchange that's happening there. But with some of these new things, again, with anything new, of course, it's not being well understood. It's really confusing. Things are changing so quickly. And we don't understand yet what the implications are. And we're a bit skeptical about why all these companies are doing it. We think they're in it for themselves and not really looking out for others, for consumers, and especially for society. So, in many ways, I think this is a very, very crucial time for us to be focused on and building trust with AI. So, just a couple comments here I want to throw up. We have from one person here. One of the benefits of AI is accelerated efficiency in data and content creation to allow us to focus our time on higher value work. And I can completely relate to this. I've been using generative AI to write a lot of research to, for example, have an idea I want to have for a survey question. And instead of slogging through it, thinking about all the ways, and I go, what are some of the best practices? Formulate a set of questions around this topic. And then I can see that it's not as on point as I want. I can go back and refine it, have a chat with the AI, and have it just spit out an entire survey in a few minutes when it would normally take me hours. So totally see and agree with you that it has really accelerated. It's completely changed my job as a content creator and as a researcher. Chris has a great comment here. Until you mentioned some of these examples around AI being used in some of these tools, I wouldn't have connected them with being driven by AI. The emergence of ChatGPT has brought AI front and center into our awareness. All right. So, and Mark here, great to see you, Mark, has this comment about what he's excited about. Neighbor, the CXO of a public company, diving headfirst into generative AI, specifically marketing communications first. And so the CXO of this, really large company, really excited and diving into it, but really staying away from using it for the more sensitive, mission critical functions like finance and accounting, because we just don't know what it can do and if it's going to make mistakes right now. So those are great comments. So thank you so much for sharing that. I do want to go on and talk just a little bit about what I think are some of the biggest issues around AI. And one of the biggest challenges for organizations, like Mark's friend, his neighbor, who's the CXO of this large company, is we have to be a little careful about what we put out there because it's so dangerous and things could go wrong. And I love this quote from my colleague Scott Schlesinger: "Trust, once lost, is extremely hard to restore." So all these efforts to create and enhance trust is a really important thing to do right now. Because if we don't, it's going to corrupt the integrity of these AI solutions. So Scott is a fantastic thinker on many of these things. And one of the things we're doing at PA is really thinking through how do you identify those opportunities? How do you then put together an AI code of ethics and principles to guide the development of those things? And then also thinking about the people and organizational implications about how work is going to change, the skills that are needed. So thinking about AI and the impact in an organization in a holistic way is extremely important. So I want to go on and talk just a little bit more data, just throwing a lot of data at you. And by the way, let me just put up into the chat so you have it. I just threw it into chat, some links into the report. And let me go and grab the slides so you can actually see those two as well. Let me just navigate my way around all these windows, and you can download my slides at this address. So you can go to my site and put this in. I just put it into the comments, and then I'll put it into the view here too as well. Go to charlenelee.com/pa-ai-steady. And that forward slash is really important. I found out you can go there and actually get all of these slides. All right. So, one of the things that I do want to show is just how it is that we can move forward. First of all, we do see a need for government. Consumers see a need for government to play a role in this. And I think it's fascinating that 71% feel that AI needs to be better regulated. 62% it needs to be regulated by a board like the NIST, and 34% think the US is doing the best job they can regulating artificial intelligence. So only a third feel like the US government is doing enough. Um, it's actually surprising. I've talked about how the White House has put out a AI Bill of Rights about what our rights are as consumers. The NIST has put out some guidelines, but there aren't regulations yet. And I think, again, this data is pointing to the need for there to be really good regulation of this industry. And some of you may have seen a letter that went out from some top technology leaders to basically ask people to stop it, to stop the development of these next generation AI tools, because it's happening far too quickly without the controls, without the safeguards in place. And we need time for organizations and government to catch up. I'm a big believer in that we need to have established principles. We're getting into uncharted territories where we think we're doing the right thing, but we may or may not be. So we need to be extra careful. I don't think we have to completely stop it, but we need to agree on some standards, at least in industry, ideally with society and government, to make all of this happen. So, a couple things that we have found in the research. First of all, this is really hard to read. I apologize. I'll try to make it a little bigger. First of all, we do know that consumers believe that AI is going to lead to net better benefits. Everything from better online shopping experience, of course, who wouldn't want to have better shopping experiences, to the production of more affordable products, but also for 32% net believe that AI is going to lead to a better life, that we're going to have better physical well-being, we have better job fulfillment, more financial health, and also our mental well-being will be improved. And a lot of this comes from this study in particular, this question. When you ask people how willing are they to be thinking and using some of these tools, it rises very significantly when you talk about very specific benefits. So 61%. So they're willing to use AI if it's going in the healthcare process, if they believe they're going to get a more accurate diagnosis. 52% say that if you provide me with a personalized treatment plan, I'm open to using AI. 47% said if you make cheaper products, and then 43% I'd be willing to use it for personalized finance advice. And if ever have used some of the existing robo advisors that are out there right now, it's already being used for that. The thing here I think that is so important to understand is that when we get into AI, without clear, tangible explanations of what it means for us and just talking about the technology, it doesn't help us. It doesn't move the dialogue forward. And so it's so important for organizations and the technology companies that are doing this to be really clear about what the benefits are, also the downsides of things, and be really transparent about what's coming down the pipe and what the implications are. Now, when it comes to who consumers trust to tell them more about AI, it was a fascinating responses that we saw. So here in the middle, right smack in the middle, 50% people say that they trust the company who made the AI. Only half said that they really trust them to find out more about what AI does. You can see the people who are more trusted than the companies. They are, for example, 65% experts in the field, for example, academics. 63% actually trust friends and family, which is usually the case. But again, for a space that's really quickly changing, friends and family are right up there with the other experts. 56% said business leaders who are experts in the technology, and 53% said independent US regulator. So when you're thinking about who to explain what AI does, either because you're a technology company that's doing it or because you're a C suite executive at your organization, and talk about how you're going to use AI in products and services for your consumers, or internally explaining it to your employees. Think about who's best positioned to deliver those benefits, to talk about those so that you can create that trust. As you can see, friends or family is right up there and has always been the case. And so the more you can explain this to people who are themselves influencers in their personal networks, in the networks at work, the better off you're going to be in being able to have people embrace and understand the changes that are coming to people. So one of the things that I think is so interesting is that we really need to think about and very carefully what this all looks like. This is especially true in the workplace. So one last data slide for you all, and that is we think about AI replacing jobs. And it's interesting that US consumers are very clear-eyed about this being the case. And so we found that 5 in 10, 1 in 2 people, 52% feel that artificial intelligence will replace jobs in the future, but that this will not happen in their lifetime, which is interesting. And then 4 in 10 are worried that artificial intelligence will replace their jobs. So you see a split screen here again. But you look on the right-hand side here, we see some interesting things. First of all, we're saying that 69% believe that learning new skills to manage AI will be essential, that 51% have believe that AI will do my admin-based tasks so I can focus on more important work. And that's where that optimism comes from, that the work, the quality of the work, the nature of the work is going to be better. I don't have to do all the crazy admin stuff that I mean, who likes to do the admin stuff? If AI can take care of filling out my timesheet or filing my expenses, hallelujah. 50% would be happy for AI to take over the parts of the job I do not enjoy. I just mentioned two of those things. 48% will allow me to focus on more meaningful parts of my role, and 45% will help me improve my job satisfaction. So you can see a lot of optimism when it comes to AI, the impact in the workplace. And yet, we all very clear-eyed about this, that we do believe that it's going to impact our jobs. So a couple other points, and Jay makes a really interesting analogy to CRISPR, to the biotech that's happening right now, especially the areas like gene splicing. We need to understand the motivations. Ergo, if increasing revenue is a core rationale, then other values and principles are being de-emphasized. So thank you for that, Jay. This is, again, what I started at the beginning. You're just emphasizing again that this has been a long-standing question about the newest development in technology, not just silicon-based technology, but also biological biotechnologies. So we have a lot to go with doing this. Um, Before I go into actions, I just have to put up this little comment from Marissa. Some of us like doing the admin stuff and have made a career out of it. Absolutely true, Marissa. And I think that is one of the biggest questions coming on board, which is what's going to happen when we have these jobs that were traditionally done by AI, um, uh, administrative assistants, paralegals, researchers, people like me. Our jobs are fundamentally going to change. And so I've been having discussions with people who do my admin work about how is my job going to change, and will you need as many of us? And I'm going to have to learn new skills, and this is going to be hard and scary, but also exciting in ways. So I want to move over into just a couple things about what we need to do. So just four things. First of all, we need to explain why AI is needed, not just what AI is, but why do we believe that this is a good thing moving forward? What are the use cases? What are the strategic objectives that you're hoping to achieve by using AI in the organization? Are you looking to reduce costs? Are we looking to increase capacity or increase opportunity? So, this is a really important step to understand and define what does success look like when you want to implement AI in your organization. The second thing to do, okay, so the first thing is explain why AI is needed, why we want to start using it. The second is to really check out, take a quick but deep look at your current data strategy, assess it, and then you may need to update it. A couple things that do you have the capacity to support the data needs coming in from these new AI tools? Do you have an architectural that's set up in the right way? Do you have all the data? And have you identified the places where that change needs to happen? These are, again, some of the recommendations that we've identified within PA, working with people like Scott and also Aaron Gradsky, another partner, very keen on looking at data strategy and data ethics and code of behaviors to think about what are some of these actions. So the first one is explain why AI is needed. Second is assess and update your data strategy. The third thing to do is to address all of these fears and concerns around AI very directly, very transparently. And so one of the things you may have to do in the beginning is to start small. And we always talk about starting small, but this is not to start small to see if it works or not. You can start small, have a lot of impact, move very quickly, but realize it's going to take some time for people to ramp up in their understanding and also time to communicate what these changes are. And so if you're doing this in a big way, it can be a lot harder to break down any barriers to increase the acceptance rates of AI. Because remember, unless people see and understand the benefits very clearly to them in the organization, even to society, they're not going to trust it. So a key part of your AI implementation has to be how do we build and engender trust? So one of the ways to do that is to be really clear, invite the conversation around what are your concerns? Well, that's a good question. Let me address that. Or that's a good question. I don't have an answer. Let's figure out what that course of action, our way forward, is going to be. And then finally, again, related to this is to manage the ethics transparently. And I think we run into problems in organizations because when we talk about having good ethics, of course we think we're ethical. We think we have integrity. But to do this very intentionally, very transparently, because we don't know all the issues that would be raised. And it's to raise those questions, to raise the issues whenever and wherever they come up, and to be able to talk about what's right, what's wrong, how does this align with our values as an organization, and also as people, and to have these deep discussions around what AI is going to mean. This is about establishing an AI ethics board that can continuously review these issues as they come up and establish guidelines and guardrails about what to do and what not to do. And also to have very clear governance. Uh, Governance is one of those scary words that people think, oh, it's about slowing me down, stopping me, and telling me with processes and policies what you can't do. I actually think it's different. When you have clear governance of process and policies, it allows us to go faster, to develop these tools and to see the benefits much more clearly because we've worked out all the issues, all the pros and cons of what could be happening. So, those are the four actions we really encourage you to take a look at. Explain why AI is needed, assess and update your data strategy, address the fears of AI directly, and related to that, really proactively manage the ethics and the establishment of your AI code of ethics. Do it intentionally. Take a quick look at all the things that you're already doing with AI and see if they hold up against this new generative AI space. All right, so that's what I have for today. Phew, that was a lot. I'm just checking to see if there are any additional comments. I don't see any at this point. So I'm going to go on and talk about what I'm going to talk about next week. I have a couple more comments I see here. So I'll address those just really quickly. Jay just says, is a good point. Acknowledge your limitations of what you can do, what you can't do. And also just set those guardrails and really encourage people to go out to the very, very edges of those guardrails and push them along so that you can constantly expand what people can do. Again, I'm a big believer that governance, really good governance, allows you to go faster. It should not be slowing you down. So next week, next Tuesday, at the same time and place, I'll be talking about what does future look like? What are the things that we're going to want to do in the future with this? And there's a lot that is changing and happening. I'll share with you some of my adventures with ChatGPT. I am not a coder. I know some basic HTML. I'm in the process of building this little app for something I've always wanted to have, and no one has built it. So I've said, I'm going to use ChatGPT to write Python scripts for me. And so I'll talk a little about what that experience is like, but also just talk about some of the future changes that I see coming down the pipe. So it'll be a fun and interesting ride down the paths of possibility. So join me next week for that. And again, as always, please stay in touch. Would love to hear your comments, your thoughts about this fast developing space. Take care, stay safe, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye bye.